Alright, boys, here's the problem, right? You should never buy a computer with a soldered storage, because especially not like a computer, because with your phone it's not as much of a problem because it's not constantly swapping, but on a computer though, especially if you have limited RAM, you'll be swapping a lot, and swapping wears down an SSD. So the thing is, when you buy or we're gonna use these M1 Max as an example because Apple uses kind of like bottom of the barrel SSDs. They use Toshiba chips, which have like, according to this graph, let me see if that worked. I will zoom in on this. Way down here at the bottom of the graph, they get like about 408 terabytes before they die. And the problem with macOS is they swap a lot, where they do a lot of memory magic to make it use less RAM, but when it doesn't, and this has been a problem on 8 gig models especially, but even on 16 gig models, they swap a lot. And when you do that, you're constantly writing data to your SSD, which will eventually destroy it. So, if I had to like give you a good reason not to buy a computer with a soldered SSD, it's well, especially with these Apple ones where like, okay, maybe you can resolder the SSD, but the BIOS is actually stored on their SSD because they can't afford a like 5 cent chip. You know what I mean? So because of that though, you're basically looking at a paperweight within a few years, and Lewis Russman has talked about this a lot, especially with their air filtering thing, where on the iMac Pro, where it just gets dust and it'll eventually overheat and kill itself. Well, in this case, your SSD will eventually kill itself, and I burned through drives before it happens. I don't ever rely on a single drive for all my data. I always put it on like 3 different drives. And I'm actually thinking, because I forgot that the WD Blue supposedly has a pretty high failure rate. And I'm kind of looking for a bigger drive to install Gen 2 on, because I kind of hop back and forth, because I'm using Baselite right now, but I've got a one NVMe slot and I've got one SATA slot, and it's actually getting harder to find SATA M.2 drives. So that's kind of annoying because like I can't put a second NVMe in here. At least I don't think I can. I'll have to look at my motherboard manual. But basically, though, if you're buying one of these Macs, just know that you're kind of on borrowed time, and it's not good. My 2014 has a replaceable SSD, although I don't even know what models it would support. But we'll see what happens. By the way, there was news about, and Lunduke had reported on it, but he kind of reported it incorrectly. There was a bug in macOS 15.1 where um, you can't run unsigned code, but supposedly they already fixed it, so that's a non-issue. I was gonna make a video on it to talk about it, but there wasn't. It was fixed before I even got the chance. So, anyways, that's what I wanted to say today. Is if your device has soldered storage, that's a bad deal. So try to avoid products like that and get ones that you can swap out the drive as needed. All right, see you later.